Ugandan morning. Allow me at this moment to welcome the person giving us welcome remarks from Acode itself, the Executive Director, Dr. Arthur Bainomigisha. With a warm hand clap, can we welcome him aboard? Dr. Arthur, we're all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gawaya Tegure. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've already been introduced. My name is Dr. Bainomigisha Arthur, and I'm the Executive Director of Acode. Let me take this opportunity to not only welcome the studio audience, but also the wider Ugandan audience to discuss and debate a very important topic in our country and perhaps in the region, confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of the gains from the Codes project. A very important topic indeed. And we are discussing this topic as our 67th State of the Nation platform. For most of you who may not know, on every first Friday of the month, we gather here at Protea Hotel to discuss a very important topical issue of concern, either at national level, regional level, and international level. And this morning, we are discussing child mortality rate in Uganda and how CODES project, which is Community and District Empowerment for Scale Up, otherwise CODES, has had after 5 years of implementation in this country to try to reduce child mortality rate in this country. As most of you would know, that the child mortality rate in this country now stands at 50 children. So 50 children out of 1,000 in this country still die every day. A Ugandan woman on average produces 6.7 children. So our fertility rate is still the highest in the world. But I'm also informed that our birth rate is the highest, is one of the highest in the world, and perhaps because most of the children die. So since most of the children die, so people decide also produce as many children as possible, so that if some die, others can survive. A very sad story that this project sought to reverse and make children, most of our children, celebrate their 5th birthday. Isn't that very important? So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to thank our partners, because this project has been implemented across several districts in this country for the last 5 years in partnership between Acode, Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, UNICEF, which is represented here, Child Fund International, Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, Makerere University School of Public Health, and the Ministry of Health in Uganda. And after 5 years of hard work with a dedicated team across these partners, we have seen child mortality rate in those districts where we work go down. I visited Buweju, and the beds were empty. Isn't that something to clap for? I visited Buweju, and the health centers did not have children because, and you know, Acode's perspective has been to increase the demand side of health services by the parents. And because of increased demand for Medicare for the children once they fall sick, most of the children in those districts have survived or are not even falling sick. So for me, this is very gratifying to see a project succeed. And I want to thank UNICEF and all the partners for trusting Acode. Because also this is a vote of confidence for trusting Acode for the last 5 years. A well-funded project. We have worked and implemented and executed our component, creating the demand side of better health services by parents. We've done it very well. Can you give a clap to Acode, please? And the Acode team is here. It will be introduced. I'm telling you, the CODES team, they're about a team of, can you stand up for recognition? because also we are coming to the closure. If the Acode team around here, please stand up for recognition. Acode team, you can see them around, Professor Winston, Moses. So thank you for the work, well done. Because we also live in a country that doesn't have a reward system. People, when you work well, people keep quiet. It is when you make a mistake that they come up. So it is good to recognize good work. So thank you very much, people. As a rule, in this under these sessions of Stone, we discuss very controversial matters, but we have ground rules that guide us. That's why this is the 67th. So over 60 years, we've been in this place discussing national, international matters, some of them security and very, very, very serious. But we agreed that we will discuss these matters without fear or favor, and they are always bipartisan in nature. So in this place, we have people from all political shades of opinion, and they discuss here issues, and we put our parties, we put our other things that divide us aside, and discuss these matters that unite us and that confront us as problems in order to help policymakers to tackle these issues. So today, we'll be looking at these presentations with the hope that policymakers will pick these recommendations and implement them. So welcome, and I wish you fruitful deliberations. I thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Arthur Bainamujisha. You know, when he was asking for a handler for Acode, he reminded me of the lizard who jumped from the high movable tree and said, even if nobody praises me, I'll praise myself. So that's why he keeps nodding his head every time he jumps, and even though there's nobody watching, he says, yes, I've done it, I've done it. But congratulations to Acode. I think the reviews coming in from COD itself, from COD's project so far have been very, very good. Congratulations for a job well done. If you're joining us live on NTV, well, welcome aboard. My name is Gawaya Tegule, and we're talking about confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up, and the consolidation of gains from the COD's project. Child mortality, a big issue, and even though it may not sound very political, it's very, very critical in our national development. I now hand over to the session chairperson, who is a man that needs little or no introduction, very powerful name in academia because he's a university professor, but also very much a big name in the political world, because if you look at his tie, it is very, very yellow. Although if you look at the shirt, it is very, very blue. No contradictions, nothing to read into that, but allow me to welcome the professor that we all know very well. He's the professor of development studies, a man with a lot of experience. If I'm to begin his CV, we shall spend half the morning here. Our hands together for Professor Elijah Mushemeza.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I've been introduced, and I'll take on the assignment head on. In the interest of time, I'll be introducing each speaker at the time of his or her presentation. And each speaker will be given 10 minutes so that we can be within time for both the plenary and when to wind up. And I'll take this opportunity to invite Dr. Flavia Mpanga from UNICEF, who is the principal investigator CODES, making an overview of CODES project, the policy prospects, and exit and sustainable strategy. Welcome, Dr. Flavia.
Good morning, honorable members of parliament, LC5s, people from the academia, and everybody in the house. We are very happy to be here today. As you've heard, my name is Flavia Mpanga Kagwa. I work in UNICEF, and I'm the principal investigator of this project. I just want to give you a brief overview of what we've been doing over the last 5 years, and I hope you can lend me your ears for the next 10 minutes. Thank you. As you know, child mortality is a very big deal in Uganda. We want to end it, especially the one that can be ended, right? I know that Uganda met the MDG 4, which is reaching the MDG target for reducing child mortality. Child mortality stands at 55 per 1,000 live births at the moment, which is a huge achievement, but it is not enough. Still, so many children die needlessly. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the Community and District Empowerment for Scale-Up project, which is called CODES, and really looking at the hypothesis, what we thought we could do to put together to bring down mortality in the districts we've been working in over the past 5 years. The hypothesis really looks at using data. We did not come with big monies from the Gates Foundation. We came with an approach that harnesses data. If you look at those circles, at the very bottom, we look at using data that the districts already have. And with the CODES project, we used surveys, household surveys, where we went to households, collected data about key elements that affect children's health, women's health. And we also went to the communities and dialogued with them to establish what their reasons for not seeking care were, the reasons for all the illnesses that they're experiencing. And with this data, we went to the district level, and the next circle, you see, we did what they call evidence-based planning with the district health management teams. When you have data, you can do evidence-based planning, targeting sub-counties that are performing suboptimally, making sure you make your little money work hardest, right? So that's what we did. And we empower district health officials to be able to take decisions, to be able to supervise and track performance of health units, to be able to put in place improvement plans and continuously implement in a smart way. That's the next cycle. This resulted in strengthening the health system somewhat. The health system is very complex with 6 pillars, including governance, service delivery, infrastructure, all that. And we did not bring money. We used what was there and also mobilized money from other donors, because the districts were able to tell the different development partners, this is where our need is. Put your money here rather than there. And with this, the hypothesis was all this brought together would reduce mortality and help us get to the Vision 2040. And eventually, also look into the Sustainable Development Goals. So that was our hypothesis. We had 8 intervention districts and 8 control. By that I mean we deliberately went into 8 districts and put this approach, and then in 8 other districts we only collected data at the baseline to see where they stood in terms of child indices, and we are watching to see what will happen in those districts. But before that, we started with a proof of concept phase where in 5 districts we went and tried this approach. So the 5 districts were not left behind. The 5 districts are the ones in orange, and then the control and interventions are the ones in green. I can give you details. I'm sure as members of parliament you would be really interested in district. Next. This is just talking about the key processes again, collecting data through surveys and also using the district health information system, which is now very well developed, and taking that into like a bottleneck analysis, a gap analysis, with a very simple tool, systematic way, and that constituted the supply side, bringing the evidence to the work planning process from the supply side. On the demand side, we used community dialogue. Community dialogue is just talking. Do you know the strength of talking? Talking to households can reduce mortality. Talking to households about key family care practices can reduce mortality. And we have evidence. Talking about sleeping under nets, taking children for immunization, washing hands with soap and water, these simple things that we take for granted can really change mortality. So that was Accode's part of the project, and ultimately we hope to see a reduction in mortality. I want to invite you to this very interesting Tanahashi model which we used, and it's the backbone of this project. I know for those who were here last year, I talked about the Tanahashi, but it's really looking across the 6 determinants of coverage. And the determinants of coverage are on the supply side and the demand side. For the supply side in the health sector, we look at commodities. Are there commodities? And then we look at human resource availability and physical access. Human resource, of course, health workers, and even the community VHTs. And then physical accessibility. Are these health centers near enough for you to be able to get care? Are the VHTs situated next door to these neighbors and they have drugs in their medicine boxes? And then the demand side, which is somewhat complex, looks at initial utilization. If you've put all these services there, do people come? Do they come for their first immunization when a child is born? And what is their experience when they do come? To make them come again, that is continuous utilization. Yes. And when they eventually come, do they finish do they get all their children immunized with all the vaccines? At the moment, I think they're about 13 or more, within the period that it's stipulated. So just to give an example of that, if a child is suffering from pneumonia, we want to see whether there are antibiotics, whether there are health workers there in the facility to give the antibiotics, and then if they're there, are they accessible enough? And for this particular case, we saw that there was a bottleneck with access to community health workers that had antibiotics. And the next arrow showed that children did not get their antibiotics within 24 hours of onset of illness. So the health workers were put to task to develop solutions. Next.
3 minutes.
Yes. This is the district, at the district level, analyzing how they can come up with the root cause analysis. And I'm sure you know about root cause analysis. You ask why, until you come to the root cause. Next. I want to give you a very simple example in Luka. Again, pneumonia. 92.3% of the facilities did not have antibiotics. And when they did their analysis, they realized that there was over-prescription of antibiotics because they didn't have respiratory timers. Respiratory timers help health workers determine the breath rate of a child, so that if it's over a certain level, they will give antibiotics because it is pneumonia, not just an ordinary cough. But because they didn't have respiratory timers, every cough was treated with antibiotics, so they ran out of stock. So what they did, they realized that they needed to procure a simple clock, put it in the health units, and help the health worker time the breath rates using that clock. With that simple intervention, they were able to address the antibiotic shortage. Very simple. Did it need a lot of money? How much does a clock cost? Next. Some of the successes are really related to what we've seen, evidence-based work plans, and it's in these 13 districts where we've worked, it has increased child health budget from 4 to 6%. Our budgets in the health sector are really constrained, and we've seen that the reporting through the health management information system increased from 23.5 to 80%, and the testing before treatment from 23 to 69. So you can imagine how much we've achieved in that area. Health worker absenteeism, which is very, very prevalent in this country, reduced from 44% of health workers not being on site to 29% in 2 years. They've come up with community voucher systems to help pregnant women access care, and male involvement for ANC, creating value for men when they come to escort their wives for ANC, giving them a service like taking their blood pressure or blood sugar has increased men involvement. Next. And now moving forward, we have come up with the 21st century digitalization. So we've automatically digitalized the scorecards in DHIS2. We've come up with this scorecard because we think we cannot collect survey data all the time. We have routine data that we can use and put it into a performance card. This scorecard, I invite you, members of parliament, to look at it very closely. It has 24 indicators, and at a glance, the ones in grey are the districts. It's very small, so you can't see it. But at a glance, you can see there are so many reds. So you go down and say, in Buweju, why am I doing badly in ANC 1? And then you interrogate the DHO. Oh, in ANC visits, the 4th visit, I'm doing quite well somewhere in Buvuma. Why? And then the districts can also learn from each other. Next, we've also gone ahead to...
I'm giving extra 2 minutes.
Is it interesting?
Since your time was over, but I'm giving extra 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. We've also digitalized the bottleneck analysis, which is a gap analysis, in DHIS2, so that DHO doesn't even have to think too much about plotting graphs, right? They'll go there and say, the bottleneck is here. The commodities, or something to do with access issues, or people are coming but not coming back. And then we've also looked at developing an action tracker where you as members of parliament, when you get access rights, you get in and say, oh, this district said they were going to do this by this time, and this is the officer who said he's going to do this. Has he actually done it? We want you to be able to see that. Next. The hugest achievement of this project is that this whole process has been incorporated into the national planning guidelines for the district. So the districts from November, which is this month, the way they conduct business. It won't be business as usual, it will be business and unusual, and better progress, we hope. So UNICEF has been privileged to fund this project for the last 5 years using funds from the Bill and Melinda Gates, and we hope to scale up across the country starting in November. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for an excellent presentation. That is the reason the chairperson of the session gave her a little more time to continue what was no doubt a very powerful presentation. Good morning once again, here on TV, live from Plenary Hotel in Kampala. This is State of the Nation platform. I'm going to Gulay Master Ceremonies tonight, welcoming to the 6th or 7th State of the Nation platform. We're talking about scale up and consolidation of gains from the Acode project, and we have an array of excellent speakers talking to us. In attendance tonight, we have Acode's partner organizations, that is UNICEF, Acode, Macquarie Health, International. We have members of parliament, district on children. We have attendance here. We have cows here, we have RDCs here. We also have members of the great State of the Nation platform, and welcoming you, therefore, to join us here live on NTV. We also have national level NGOs who are working in health. We also have development partners on board in this forum tonight. And we're in for a good time. This subject of child mortality is very close to me. We had, my wife and I, we went to bury, then came back. I had to rush back to the hospital. The most painful bit was that, after 4 babies, we were used to coming from Malago, happy and carrying a baby and rejoicing. This time we got our bags and went home. The painful bit. We got
Your wedding weekend is finally here. Here's your Radiant Style Tip. Just add the Radiant Hair Polisher before styling and finish your magical look with the Radiant Olive Sheen Spray. Your big day is definitely on. It's no secret. Radiant. Feel yourself.
Ooh, hey.
For more Radiant Style tips, visit us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter, #RadiantStyle.
From the land of the rising sun, 100 determined athletes have accepted the challenge to become
I will be.
I'm gonna be the first
Ninja Warrior. Divided into 4 extreme stages, competitors face the ultimate test of strength and will in their quest to become champion. Many are called, few are chosen.
Demonstrating incredible speed, strength, and focus, Levi demolished the second stage.
Makoto Nagano achieved the near impossible by becoming only the second man in history to complete all 4 stages of Ninja Warrior.
Now, let's find out who's tough enough to become the next Ninja Warrior.
The issue of street vendors and hawkers remains a challenge to the governing authority. In a move to find a solution, the Speaker of People's Parliament invites all stakeholders in Kampala to discuss and find a lasting solution to the problem of street vendors and hawkers. The People's Parliament will be held on the 8th of November 2016 at Royal Suites Bugalobi at 9 a.m. Please keep time.
What pisses me off on the road, drivers who seem to never know where they are going, so they kind of double indicate, like every 3 seconds they indicate different directions. Impatience, impatience, impatience. Impatience is going to be the death of us. There's these guys that drive on the shoulders, I don't know, running to where, trying to overtake from the left, taxi drivers and all these folks.
I do not like drivers who are so impatient, they do not wait for us who don't have cars to cross the road.
People who drive while talking on the phone. That's me inclusive. I mean, I'm not perfect. There's the other annoying bit. Yes, of course, there's the very fast drivers, but then there's guys who just cannot move. There's no car ahead of you, there's no traffic, and you're just not moving, for goodness sake. You're not going for a wedding. People who overtake in corners.
Border riders who use the wrong lane.
There's these border guys that ride as if they have a spare life at home. They besiege you on the left, from the right. Jeez. Worst experience. I was trying to go off the official lane, and when I got off, I actually fell in a KCCA manhole. Oh, it was bad. Last week I drove to Mbale, and on returning, that Mbale Tirinyi road is under construction, and so there's a narrow path, and so I stopped because there was a truck coming who couldn't fit, and this guy, he literally turned on the car, scratched it, and then he ran off, and I was thinking, but who does that? You made a mistake? Stop and apologize, for goodness sake. Am I a responsible road user? Hell yeah! I think I'm so responsible because I stay in one line. Sometimes I shout at drivers, or sometimes I just pull up the windows and say all the unchristian words. So no one ever gets to see my road anger. Am I a responsible user? Absolutely. Am I a perfect road user? Of course not. I do make mistakes along the way sometimes. I really follow the traffic rules to the dot. Well, sometimes I drive not fast but very quickly, you know. but yeah, I am a responsible road user. What do I stand to lose if I'm a careless driver? Man, I'm a father of 2 beautiful children, so you never know what may happen. I may be driving and then I have to suddenly brake. The kids will obviously move out of place, or someone can knock us.
I think the ultimate is life. Life is everything. It's family, it's friends. You can't have that if you don't have life.
Look, I'm not a married man yet. I need to first marry. How will I marry if I am a careless road user and thus I lose my life? I've not had children yet, you know.
To lose your life in something that's avoidable, like a road accident, that for me is more painful than anything else. So,
my name is Brian. I pledge to be a responsible road user.
My name is Raymond Mujuni, and I pledge to be a responsible road user.
My name is Joel Senyonyi, and I pledge to be a responsible road user.
My name is Patricia. I pledge to be a responsible road user, and I think you should.
Will you pledge to be a responsible road user too?
Be
part of the drive. Record yourself taking the pledge and upload your video to Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram with the hashtag #TheDriveForSafety.
Then on the solutions and the strategies, for each identified cause along the child mortality indicators, we take the districts through how they work it out to get to the potential solutions. And the solutions are prioritized using a ranking tool. Next slide. And the next slide. No? The one before that? Before that? We have the ranking tool. Okay. Okay, proceed. And then for the solutions and the solutions and strategies, a lot of this is will be discussed in the next presentation by the demand side partners. Next slide. Next slide. So that is just a summary of the process. I want to get into the findings. Next slide. So these are just some sample results from Bujiri showing how we've been performing. That is a comparison of 2 years. And in brief, for all the indicators under antibiotic use for pneumonia, we see an improvement in the subsequent year. We have just collected the end line data, and we hope that a lot of this will show a lot more improvement. Next slide. The next. So in the summary of findings, virtually all the determinants in the Tanahashi model, but commodities, have shown an upward trend. The commodities along the 5 years, they dance around. This year they're there, next year they're not there. And the factors influencing this many times are beyond what the district can handle as a district. I think that is an issue that goes above the district. So those are just examples of interventions at district level, at facility level. That is one facility in Masaka which was working on the client waiting time in the laboratory. At the time we joined them, an average person would wait for 3 hours to pick a result from a laboratory. And they worked it out using the continuous quality assessment approach. We see the in-charge was warned. The in-charge warned the lab person about late coming and absenteeism. The waiting time went down. They introduced an attendance register. They agreed with staff who are taking care of babies to hire maids. And they introduced a group approach to testing. So all these approaches, we saw them reducing on the client waiting time. And as we speak, an average person in that laboratory in a health center 3 spends less than 30 minutes at that laboratory. So we have examples of those improvements. Next slide. This was on HMI's completeness. We see a lot of improvement in that facility. I think Bigasa is in Buikwe. Yeah. Bukoma and Simbi. Thank you for the correction. The next slide. Now, we've worked with the health facilities to show them how to score themselves and to ably represent these scores. When you move to all the facilities in the 13 districts, you'll find very, very big canvas charts which look like the one projected. The main point there is that the red means they did not meet that standard, and the green means they met that standard. And our aim here is to turn all the reds into green.
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Proceed. We also have district scorecards. Again, the red is for facilities that didn't meet, and the green is for those that met. And we can look at, these are available in all our districts. Okay? And these are very simple tools that our leadership can use to understand the status of events in the facilities. Next slide. Now, some of the interesting findings under leadership and governance. I specifically pulled this out because in the health facility assessments, You'd find support supervision reports, for example, are documented into the support supervision books. Ministry of Health provided support supervision books. When you go to a facility and you supervise and you offer support, you should write out in that book. But our concern is the content of what we write, especially as leaders, as technical support people. One, some reports don't indicate the gaps. Some reports don't inform of the actions to be taken. But the most interesting is you'll find supervisors making comments like good work, struggle continues, hardworking staff, warm welcome. You know, this is a book that the facility people should use to guide them on how to improve their services. So when we find comments like that covering 2, 3, 4 pages of a supervision book, then the book is not serving its purpose. Okay? Forgive me to say, but I'm sure a lot of us in this room are victims of such comments in these books. So we are saying, tell the people where you want them to improve. Okay? In the health facilities, looking at staff and departmental meetings, it is interesting to find that we have in-charges who do not know how to take minutes. And one thing we need to realize is the in-charges of our health facilities are trained in hospitals, in nursing schools. They are not trained to take minutes. They are not trained to be in-charges. So they come from school and they are posted to Health Center 3 to lead the team. No orientation, no prior training, nobody to look up to for some of these issues. And at the end of the day, you find they are lacking in some basic things. And these are some of these basic things, they trickle down and they affect the quality of services these people are able to offer. We have concern on human resource. Be keen to look at the duty roster. All facilities have duty rosters. But one of the interesting things about the duty roster is in the peak hours, evenings and nights, weekends, if you're keen to see the people who are on duty, they are the non-qualified staff. Normally they'll put the nursing assistants. Okay? So at the end of the day, you have a whole weekend and the health center 4 is covered by nursing assistants. Okay? You have all the time after 5 up to morning covered by the non-qualified staff. So we need to be keen on some of these things. Because what we say is facilities should at any one time have a qualified staff on duty. Okay. Proceed. Though these are just some interesting findings. And
I'm
we
giving
see
you only 1 minute.
Okay, we see how it was before and how it is after. So we are seeing improvements. Okay, proceed. Now on the achievements, we've talked a lot about them. The capacity building, a lot has been done in capacity building of the district health management team especially. Proceed. We have developed the quality improvement tools, and they're able to measure successes. Many of the successes have already been outlined by Flavia. Proceed. Now the lessons we learn when aligning this project to already existing planning cycles strengthens. If we have data and we have bottleneck analysis taking place shortly before the budget framework papers, then you'll see a lot of the outputs of that analysis of problems being transferred into the budget framework paper. So aligning these two is very important. Leadership from the Ministry of Health and the district managers is very crucial. And the simplicity and technical sound adaptations of the project or the current approach, it easily indicates that there is widespread consensus about its value. So on the way forward, we advocate that this should be scaled up to other districts, and it should also be scaled up to service areas beyond child health. Thank you very much.
Warm applause for another excellent presentation. A very good morning to you all out there, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to NTV Live here at Protea Hotel in the middle of Kampala on a beautiful Kampala morning. After rainy yesterday, we have a very beautiful morning. It's a great time to be alive here in Kampala. I'm Tegule, and welcome to Stone as we talk about the critical problem of child mortality. As a matter of fact, we're saying Confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of gains from the CODES project. Just a few quotes about children. The 31st President of the US, Herbert Hoover, said, children are our most valuable resource. Not the oil in Hoima, not the minerals in Karamoja. Children are Uganda's most valuable resource. Carl Sandburg, an American poet, said, a baby is God's opinion that life should continue. Nelson Mandela, he said, there can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way it treats its children. Very wise words. This one was Wes Stafford, who was I think one of the former presidents of Compassion International. He said, every child you encounter is a divine appointment. And another one said, and listen, this is the most beautiful. This is Louis Pasteur, a man that we know very well every time you drink pasteurized milk. He said, when I approach a child, he inspires two sentiments. First, the tenderness for what he is, child, innocent and everything, but also the respect I'll have for that child for what he may become. So every time a child dies, you don't know who has died. It could be a president who has died that you're bearing. It could be an MP who has died. It could be a doctor that you're bearing. Child mortality, therefore, is bearing or people that we don't know dying. You've no idea who exactly is dying. The chair of this session is Professor Elijah Mishemeza. Back to you, Professor.
Thank you very much, Tegure. And because you read widely from what I've observed, I wouldn't mind being your supervisor in your next academic undertaking. Our next speaker, Mr. Moses Mukundane, works with Acode and is a team leader of CODES project. He's going to present on demand-side interventions, lessons learned, challenges, and prospects. Dr. Agnes explained the supply side. We expect you to explain the concept demand side in child mortality. Welcome, Moses Mukundane.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm presenting the CODES demand side component. What worked, achievements, challenges, and prospects. And as earlier introduced, my name is Moses Mukundane. I'm the CODES team leader at Acode. My presentation will cover the CODES demand side component overview, a snapshot of accomplished activities, major achievements, major implementational challenges, and policy recommendations. Overview of the CODES demand side component. Acode has been implementing the demand side component of this CODES project. And as required by Professor, the connection between the supply side and the demand side is, as Child Fund International and Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine are engaged in continuous quality improvements at health facilities. Acode, with our demand side component, we've been involved in engaging the community to demand and receive better quality of health services. And this involved various activities. One is data collection, especially using the qualitative approach in the baseline studies. We also developed citizen report cards, which we used to engage the communities in the community dialogues. Our community dialogues were really robust and were conducted for 2 solid days. Day 1 involved the discussion of the season report cards in separate breakout sessions, involving the caretakers of children under 5, VHTs, community leaders, and health workers. And day 2 was largely an interface session that brought together all those participants, but also sub-county and district leaders. And day 2 climaxed into the creation of joint action plans, or what we call community contracts. Next. After the dialogues, we had the post-dialogue follow-up or monitoring visits after 3 to 6 months, just to have an experience with the communities on how they're implementing their community contracts. We also had media campaigns and advocacy, including airing of public health messages on most popular local radio stations in 13 districts of codes. We also used SMS platforms, including U-Report and M-Track. And finally, we've just conducted the demand side engine study. A snapshot of accomplished activities. Baseline study and development of season report cards. Community dialogues. We have conducted 151 community dialogues in 13 districts between 2012 and 2016. Our dialogues attracted over 13,000 participants, if you can call it souls touched. We've also had 151 community contracts designed by the community. We had over 6,000 new enrollees of U-Report who participate in the discussions at the national and district level about the healthcare issues in the country. Media campaigns. We have run over 8 public health messages across the 13 districts, as said. Capacity building, over 120 key staff from 43 NGOs. And capacity building for district health teams for purposes of sustaining the gains from the Acode project. We have also made 161 visits to health facilities and the communities that hosted the community dialogues. Next, major achievements. We've had robust awareness creation in the project communities, especially on basic health issues and corrective action. And as a result, we've witnessed emergence of community-initiated health outposts. For example, one in Bukomansimbi and another one in Kimi, and another one in Mukono, Kimi Island. We've also witnessed an increase in latrine coverage and other sanitary facilities in most homesteads in those communities that hosted the dialogues. Of course, here we acknowledge the role of the joint efforts of the LOCs, VHTs, and community-based codes committees. We have enhanced participatory planning for community health, where different stakeholders in health come together, identify common health problems and challenges, and together they jointly plan and make the action plans. And there is an example. Next, we have also witnessed prompt response from sub-county and district leadership towards critical issues emerging from the community dialogues. In most of the, during the community dialogues, most participants raised the concerns of long distances, but also inadequate health facility outreach posts. And as a result, our post-monitoring findings, as well as the end study findings, indicate that there has been a creation of new health facility outreach posts, especially for immunization and ANC. There have also been equipping of malfunctional health facilities. I remember when we went to Bujiri, we realized that there was a health facility called Mazirika, which had spent almost 3 years without receiving drugs from NMS. But with our intervention, at least the district came on board, and other other stakeholders, and as we talk now, Mazirika receives drugs from NMS. Next. We have increased knowledge among the caretakers of children under 5 about those childhood diseases. And this is not only happening in communities where we had the dialogues.
3 minutes.
But also in other communities surrounding, surrounding communities. And this suggests suggests that there are other communities which have benefited, although they were not our primary targets. We have also improved working relations between the health workers and the community in the communities that hosted the dialogues. And this is the same with the VHTs and the communities. We have also witnessed attitudinal change among the caretakers of children, especially on immunization. There are many misconceptions, there are many misbeliefs about immunization. But our community dialogues have really caused this attitudinal change. As we talk now, there is increased coverage and utilization of immunization services. There is some increase in male involvement in seeking health care. Major implementational challenges.
The Advocates Coalition for Development and Environment, Acode, in partnership with UNICEF, Ministry of Health, and other community and district empowerment for scale-up project partners are organizing the 67th Stone, scheduled to take place at Prote Hotel, Friday, 4th November 2016. The theme is Confronting the Challenge of Child Mortality in
to do with late coming of health workers, absenteeism, but also uncaring all sort of insulting behavior, or insulting language from the health workers. There are also issues of social cultural constructions, gender roles, and household poverty. There is we have also witnessed unbalanced demand and supply side interventions. We have tried to create demand, but we are not feeling or witnessing the corresponding increase in supply side. And as a result, we are witnessing frequent drug stockouts within the health facilities. We still have the issues of low pay for health workers, and also some issues to do with infrastructure challenges. We have also witnessed constrained civic competence to enforce meaningful social accountability due to vulnerability syndrome. Here we are having an example of fear to use the M-track. M-track is anonymous.
But I'll give you 1 minute to conclude.
Okay, please. Thank you. Lastly, policy recommendations. we are saying, considering the gains from the Acode project, the Minister of Health can scale it up, can scale up the Acode project into other districts. And we are also recommending that community dialogues, being comprehensive and scientific, can ably inform the office of the Prime Minister with this program of barazas. Next, we are saying that we should integrate VHTs fully into the newly created community health extension workers or program, basing on the commendable work they are doing, especially in child survival at the village level. We are saying that the minister should increase the budget for health sector. I know we have said this over and over, but we shall not get tired. We are saying the Minister of Health should increase the budget for the health sector. Last slide, districts. We are recommending that you can adopt the community dialogue model using your own peculiar context. And we also recommend that your district should incorporate fully the community-initiated projects into your planning and budgeting. And lastly, I should say that we recommend the district to strengthen the health unit management committees because they are very critical at health facility monitoring and supervision. And our findings show that our HUMICs are really weak, so they need to be strengthened. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. And we are saying that every child deserves a 5th birthday. Thank you so much.
You can say that again. Every child deserves a 5th birthday. Thank you very much. Let's warmly appreciate him once again. I think that's a powerful way to end a great presentation. Every child deserves a 5th birthday. I always tell people that until your child gets to 5, 6, they are not your child yet. They're basically on loan because they're living on borrowed time. But when they cross the Rubicon, they know, yes, I think I have a child. And like I said, I have first-hand experience on that. We're talking about confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of gains from the Acode project here at the 67th State of the Nation platform, live from Potea Hotel, Kampala. And like I said, you're watching us on NTV. We are also on Facebook, Acode-Uganda. You can get us there and interact with us, get us feedback. We are also on Twitter. The hashtag is Child Survival UG, so you can give us feedback right away, and we shall be happy to acknowledge that feedback. Because in attendance here we have district leaders. They are here. We have RDCs, LC5 chairpersons, we have cows, they are all here. We have members of parliament, they're in the house. We have partner organizations in this project, UNICEF, Acode, Makerere School of Public Health, CFI, that's Child Fund International. They are all here. And we also, of course, have members of the State of the Nation platform in attendance. We have national level NGOs here. We have development partners here. This is a high level forum. It doesn't get bigger than this. So when you get to us on Twitter or Facebook, we shall be happy to hear from you. My name is Gawaya Tegule, and I'm welcoming you to prepare your responses, because after the next speaker, we shall be having a powerful plenary discussion, and you don't want to miss that. The chair of the session is none other than the wonderful Professor Elijah Mshemeza. I get back to you.
Thank you very much. From what I picked first from Dr. Agnes Kovsinje, from the supply side, there are still gaps in service delivery. But Moses is saying from the demand side, the communities have been trained to demand for better services, and they have been empowered to the extent of even doing certain things from themselves. Our next speaker, who is going to speak from the perspective of project monitoring and evaluation, is other than Professor Peter Waiswa from Makerere University School of Public Health. Although it has been closed, but Makerere will continue working. From also Karolinska Institute and the team leader. And Professor Waiswa, the tendency in this country is to think of project monitoring and evaluation in the middle or at the end of the project. What is this philosophy of project monitoring and evaluation? Is it an integral part of the whole project from conception? We would like to hear this philosophy of M&E and its wonderfulness and how it has cut across all these presentations and the project. Professor.
Thank you so much. Yes, Makere closed, but we are working. Since we have legislators here, I hope they resolve the problem so fast. It seems Makere is needed because I'm here even though we are closed. Professor, M1E, or these days we call it MIL, Monitoring, Evaluation, Adaptation, Learning, is done from the time you design a project and even after you've implemented a project. Present with me are my colleagues from Makere, Eric, if you can, then Florence, Professor Katahoire, Sharound. And when you come last, most of the things have been said, so you just summarize. Therefore, I'm just going to be emphasizing a few things. Next slide. So, I think it has been presented that CODES was a project that had 3 pillars. And actually, to just summarize, CODES was a systematic planning methodology or approach, planning and management that we introduced in districts. And our thinking was better planning using data and better management. Even with the limited resources districts have, you can reduce child mortality. And that is the key message from this work. So we had 3 pillars. The first one was that improved planning, which is pillar number 1, using data. Pillar number 2 was regular review. You don't plan and stop there. You have to review regularly. And the third one is actually to bring communities on board, community oversight. I must say this is also the area for the MPs. Next slide. So we, Makere University, together with Karolinska University in Sweden, we were responsible for the lessons learned for the monitoring. We already collected the quantitative data, but we are analyzing it. So unfortunately, I will not be telling you how much mortality reduction did you achieve, how much coverage. But I think that Acode will organize a next session for us to give those results. Next. So when we did CODES, we had 2 phases. And the first phase was what is the best design and the package. So we spent about 2 years designing the project by working in some districts to come up with what is best to scale up. That was our wave 0. And wave 1, once we had designed this approach, we wanted to ask, does it work? That is what we've been doing in 8 districts, and also 8 districts where we've been implementing, but also we've been having districts where we compare to the districts where we are not implementing. Do these districts do better? But also, we know that you are legislators, policymakers. We wanted to know how much does it cost. Next. So we collected data using various methods. I'm not going to go through these methods, but we got embedded in the project as Makere. We are not implementers. We are basically looking and monitoring what is going on. Next slide. And what did we find? As I said, a couple of things have been said. Maybe my first point should be that when you have data, and good enough, the health system has data, and you use the data to plan better, to understand in which areas are we doing well, in which areas do we have gaps. And then you plan based on the gaps. You allocate resources better, and if you do good implementation, this should be associated with improved child health. So, but in order to do so, for people who bring projects to districts, you need to align with the planning cycle. So one of the critical things, we made sure that when we are planning, we go in when the government is also planning, so that we can leverage the resources that government and other partners have. And this is one of the points I want to call upon stakeholders, people who bring projects to districts, that try to align with the planning process. Then this process of using data to identify gaps is actually very important. And what surprised us, we used to think it's only for people with very high level training or like us in PhD staff. But actually, districts are able, when supported, to do systematic planning to identify bottlenecks and be able to allocate resources better. But one of the most critical things for the members of parliament and the other partners is that actually the districts, although they can plan, their fiscal space, fiscal and decision space is limited. And what do I mean here? The amount of money that districts have, the money in this country for health sector remains in Kampala. That is 80%. We have evidence from Acode, from surveys. So the money for the health sector is mostly here in management and other things. We need a way to leverage that. Countries like Ethiopia have done so. They have the so-called 70 and 30% rule. 70% of the money for NGO must be spent on programs. So even if they can plan better when they don't have money, they can do nothing. The second one is the resources. Most of the resources they have are earmarked, and the government says you cannot reallocate it. But how can you plan when you can't reallocate? So that is what we call the decision space for the manager. The manager must be able to reallocate resources. This is an appeal to you, members of parliament. We need to improve not just the amount of money for health, but the money that goes to districts. Then, of course, leadership from the Ministry of Health and others is critical. Next slide. Now, this community dialogue has been talked about, and we found it quite important. In fact, in aligning resources, it is an effective method to make sure that services reach the community. But community dialogue needs to use existing community structures. When we started this project, it was Acode and going to the communities, coming from Kampala, driving all the way. But with time, we discussed with Acode that can you find community structures. So we've been able to design a system which identifies community structures in the districts, like CSOs, church groups, and others, to do so. So those should be the ones doing the community dialogue. But of course, now we know the members of parliament also have this money for constituent fund that they could use to do community dialogue. Next slide. Now, as I said, I'll be jumping a few of the sites that have already been emphasized. But one of the things that we saw is that the capacity of district managers is critical. And in Uganda, there is valid capacity of district health managers and their team. Districts that don't have stronger managers also tend to perform worst. But also districts where the political leadership is weak, they're also performing poorly. I must say one of those districts is where I'm born, that is Ruoka. We are having a lot of trouble in the former leadership, that the district's leadership was weak, but also the performance was almost weakest. So this is an area for you members of parliament and others to make sure that districts have technically qualified people. Next slide.
You have 2 minutes, but I'll add you 2 more minutes.
So, thank you, Prof. Now, data is important. We did talk about data, and Flavia and Agnes have presented it. We used to collect data from the community, but we realized this is very expensive and not affordable. Good enough, the data we already have in our health facilities can be used to plan for health services. And Flavia was able to show you the red and green. The most important message, ensure that your district is green, not red. Okay, members of parliament might say yellow, but it is actually for purposes of dashboard. Red is bad, green is good. Then implementing partners need to develop exit strategies. And Flavia didn't say so, but she's mobilizing money to ensure that we take codes to the entire country. Now, next slide. So, we did, next slide, the one with costing. We did cost how much codes would cost. And we found out that with about 150 million shillings per year, you can implement codes in a district. But remember, we did it for child health, but we need to do codes for everything. So it might be a little bit higher, but not so much. And to do it in the entire country, if you are to do it in the entire country, we'll need about 17 billion shillings. I think this is, members of parliament, if you are convinced that using data, improving management is a way to use our resources better, then allocating 17 billion shillings more would make a lot of difference to the country. There will be better planning and better survival of children. Next slide. So, in a nutshell, we see that the community part is one of the areas where we have a bit of challenges because it tends to be a little bit more expensive than the facility part, mainly because most of the facility costs are already taken care of by what the government is paying health workers. What I would like to leave with you as I finalize, next slide, is that, next slide, yeah, that one, that codes was a complex intervention, but we have been able to show that when you support districts to use available data better, they do a systematic planning process with better management, with a bit of external resources and community support or community dialogue and oversight. We can basically move the child health agenda in Uganda. And it is my call to all of us to embrace systems that use local available data, improve management, and also include community oversight. Thank you so much.
That's a very muted applause. I think we can do better than that after such a good breakfast, especially. A warm applause. Thank you very much, Professor.
Actually, I was thinking, is it because the professors are not appreciated that they're giving me such an applause?
Who doesn't appreciate professors? Are you trying to say something, Professor? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? And we hope Makerere finally reopens. Actually, somebody was saying, you know, Makerere closing is no longer news. The news is when Makerere is open. They say, hey, what's wrong? Why you guys are open? What's happening? Yeah. And then because the lecturers began, they went on strike. Then the students followed, they also went on strike. There's another group that is saying, let them open so that we also go on strike. The non-academic staff, because they haven't had their chance. They say, but we haven't had our turn. You can't close the varsity before we've actually had our turn. So that is the politics and the joy of Makerere in this country. I think I was listening to somebody who was commenting yesterday. He said, you know, the university is now known for strikes more than anything else. But that's, I think, something we can discuss over coffee. Welcome aboard. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is State of the Nation platform, the 67th State of the Nation platform that we're having, and the oldest here at Protea Hotel, and we are live here at NTV. Wherever you are, welcome aboard, because we're talking about confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of gains from the CODS project. We've had 4 excellent speakers. We began with Dr. Flavia Mpanga from UNICEF talking to us about the policy prospects and the exit strategy about this project. We had thereafter from Child Funds National, Dr. Agnes Kobosinje speaking about supply side interventions, the lessons learned, the challenges and the prospects. Then we went over to Acode itself, demands and interventions, what are lessons learned and the challenges and prospects. And we've just concluded with Professor Peter Waiswa, who, like the chairman noted, is from the university that is usually closed, that opens once in a while and then goes back to closed mode. Perspective from project project monitoring and evaluation. My name is Gawa Tagule, and I'm your master of ceremonies tonight. You can join us on Twitter, #ChildSurvivalUG. You can give us feedback on Twitter, and we shall be happy to acknowledge your contribution. You can also follow us on Facebook, ACODE, that is Acode-Uganda, and we shall be happy to hear what you are talking about in response to this very important subject of the challenge of child mortality in Uganda. In attendance tonight, we have partner organizations in the CODES project. That is Ministry of Health, UNICEF, Acode, Makerere School of Public Health, and Child Fund International. We have MPs, that is members of parliament, on board, both of every category, and we also have district leaders, that is the RDCs. They also have chairpersons, the COWs, and the district health officers. We have members of STONE on board. We have national level NGOs that are working in the health domain, and we also have development partners on board. And it's now time for the plenary. Wherever you are, please feel free to join us through Twitter and Facebook. And if you're in this room, then the chairman, Professor Elijah Mshemeza, will be happy to welcome your remarks by show of hand. Professor, over to you.
Thank you very much. Now I'm opening it to the audience in this room. But with us we have district health officers from various districts. And if we assume that they represent the demand side of the equation, I would like to give an opportunity first to district health officer of Maracha, Uheju, Ujiri, Masaka, Masindi, 2 minutes each, so that we can hear more of the demand side of the equation. DHO Maracha. Yes. Boss.
You can speak from there.
So that they can
speak from there.
Would like them to use only 2 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Chadro Bosande, Acting District Health Officer, Maracha. I want to be grateful that I have this opportunity on this platform to make a statement, one or two. But, Mr. Chair, I want to observe that it's our culture that we do not have enough time to talk about good things. But if we're supposed to talk about bad things, then you have all the time. And my relationship with the codes, Acode and this project, actually warranted that I should have enough time to talk about the project. Because, first of all, codes lived its name. It really empowered us as communities and districts in Maracha. And therefore, I'm actually going to give just a testimony. Number two, I liked the concept with which codes worked, starting by gaps identification. We did a study and CFI, with the CFI support on both demand and supply. Very key thing within the facility, that the clerkship in Maracha was very poor. When I talk about clerkship, I mean the interface between the client or the patient and the clinicians, the health workers, was extremely poor. But if you look at our staff structure, very good. We have people, the senior clinical officer is there, the clinical officer, nursing officer, and so on. So I kept wondering, why is the clerkship very poor? Until this study, we didn't know. And there were a lot of range of issues going into why doesn't this clinician allow the child who has a fever, to go without assessing malnutrition. We later found that, well, there are issues to do with it. There was no more tape, the equipments were not there, and so on. And later in our planning, we had to put money, both from UNICEF, I'm grateful, we had about 19 million, to put in equipment so that we buy this and we see what next, because the clinicians are good. Now they will have the equipment, we have other things. There were issues to do with internal supervision. When you go to a facility, you know, the EPI fridge is not charted for 2 days. You wonder whether the in charge was there. So these are the issues that we really worked together with, and we had a lot of issues.
Finally,
I know that there were other factors that made our improvement. But basing on the fact that the provisions are these, fed into our planning system, Maracha district jumped from position 90 in the country to 21 in 1516.
That's very wonderful.
Of the 60 best practicing midwives in the country, one came from Maracha. This is because of the better planning, because the CKI projects, we made sure that we really improved the way we worked. So my appeal is, before the project goes, can we have the DHOs and DHTs trained in the software that has been integrated in the DHIS, so that we can continue to do these things when you are not there and get more empowered.
Thank you very much. DHO of Hweju. Quickly, yeah. From the mountains of Hweju.
Thank you very much, Professor. I would like to welcome everyone. I'm Kamerisa. In here, I'm for the DHO of Hweju, who got an accident some time back and is not. He's trying to come up well, but he's fine. Getting back to codes, we started this in way back 2012. Our DHO happened to be a member actually on the steering committee for the Wave 1 district. Wave 1 districts, that's where we had very many districts, 8 of them. Buhweju was there. And fortunately enough, it was the only district in the south, from the southwestern region, which benefited from the CODES project. But when you look at what used to happen, I was there in the supply side and demand side. When you look at the Tanahashi model, supply side, what really are you trying to address as the district, as partners? Now, we would sit previously and you say, okay, now we need to do this, but evidence-based planning, that's what came, and that's what we're using. When you look at the bottlenecks, if you come from the logistics, now, what exactly are the challenges in logistics? You try to go deep and find out why, like it was presented. But then, what I want to put forward is, as we are looking at scaling it to other districts, let's look at sustainability of the interventions which were brought in. One, when you look at the quality of care health facility assessment tool by the Ministry of Health, it's a very comprehensive tool, which we as health managers in the local governments we've not been using. And really, what is required in there is not much. How can you improve services depending, or actually using what is available? The available resources. It's broad. It only looks at very few things which we've not been using. But since we got this project, it has helped us a lot. Now, getting back to the demand side.
Finally,
empowering our communities is the way to go, because when you look at the diseases we have in Uganda, and these ones we're talking about, malaria, pneumonia, and diarrhea, 100% they are preventable. There is no reason why Uganda should spend a lot of money in procurement drugs when we can empower our communities to prevent these diseases. So let's look at ways how we can adopt and implement preventive medicine in Uganda, and we help our communities not always come to facilities to demand for drugs, but to be in communities to improve their health status. And that would actually reduce the child, promote child survival, and child mortality would reduce. God's project did not only look at children. We would go to communities and we talk about everyone at large. So that's a credit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for members of parliament who are here and those from government departments take note that policy making, legislation should base on the evidence, data. That means the government must invest in research. That's the way to go. DHO from Bujiri, followed by DHO Masaka. Bujiri? The ones moving the microphone, you might be fined because your speed is very slow.
Thank you very much, Chair.
That's Bujiri?
Yes, please. Robert Mutumba Musenze is my name. I'm the assistant DHO, Bujiri. And just to give a testimony of what has worked for codes in Bujiri is that we have realized to use data for implementation and community engagement, because we have been able to dialogue with communities based on the data that has been collected, either using surveys or using the HMIS forms. And when we engage with communities, the partnership that has been built between the health workers and the communities where they stay has yielded, because now we have had to improve on our performance. This can be even evidenced by the recently the league table, because we have a little bit moved up from the previous performance. From
summarize your presentation.
Then the other bit I was saying that it has improved our relationship, because the communities that were engaging into a dialogue were communities that were a little bit far from the main services, I would say, hard-to-reach areas, underserved communities, basically served by health center tools, manned by nursing assistants mostly, who would report at any time they would feel like, and some of these would not be noticed by us, the managers. But then when we engaged communities and the health workers were able to notice, and action plans were drawn, and these health workers started reporting early, because they would report late and again leave early. But because now the communities were empowered to know that it was their right to be served by these health workers, and these health workers were supposed to report at 8:30 and leave at around 5. So they would monitor and they would report. We could and using available communication methodologies like the M-Track they have used. These days, when you look at the dashboard, there are so many either for those who are working well, and we are engaging.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before I bring in Buvuma Masaka Masindi, we may need to hear another side from the audience. We also live in these communities. If there are members of the audience, they may want to raise some issues before we continue with this story of the testimonies and successes. I would allow you at this moment. RDC, Mr. Bamwine, Madam there, and then the other lady. Let me hear the other side of raising issues, maybe.
And thank you for the presentations. My name is Abamwine, Resident District Commissioner of Tambara. Now, I listened to the presentations and I got worried, because we are talking about child mortality, we are talking about Ministry of Health. I don't know whether the minister was invited or not. Because all of these we are deliberating, even the partners we are talking about, I don't know whom they are going to partner with. Because it is the Minister of Health which should have been even leading the presentation and being guided. If they were invited and they did not come, I think that is, you said red is bad. We should have double red. Because it's unacceptable. And they will say, this is Chisanja, hakuna mchezo. But I can see mchezo here now. This is unacceptable. So some of us are going to raise more flags internally. But I don't know whether you were invited. Two, the presentations were based on the assumption that every pregnant woman reports to health center. But my experience as a district worker, majority of the people who are pregnant don't report to these health centers. So how do we capture that data? Majority of the women don't go to the health centers, and we know we still have our beliefs. So I don't know whether how that one was captured. So the actualness of the data, without people who have not going to health centers, is also an issue to look at. Now, all the presentations have talked about capacity building, dialoguing. I'm one of those who don't believe in dialogue. Yes, I don't believe in dialogue. You can have even health workers, you can have the district leadership, you can have the partners, but people refuse to come, they refuse to work. Recently, I had a clash with a certain health worker who refused to attend to a patient until this patient died. And the person is paid by government. So, how are you implementing these? Are these recommendations to be implemented? Because I heard that by November, the district are going to do this. But how? I'm looking at the sanctions. We must get a shortcut of how we can ruthlessly and harshly punish government officers who do not do their responsibility. If we don't capture that, we shall continue coming here, dialogue.
Thank you very much.
The last one. The last one.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. The last one is the attitude by both the communities we intend to serve and at the same time by us government workers. We have this kind of community which can even be advised on how to go about to reduce child mortality. But they go and at times they get drugs and put them under the bed and they throw it there. They reach at home, they don't even remember what they are. Then you have also this health worker or government officer who comes and puts his coat on the chair and goes away to do other things. So to me, once we don't address the question of punishing those who don't want to listen to the advice of the experts and punishing those workers who pick salary and they don't want to work, we can dialogue until cows come back home. Thank you.
Thank you. We have heard from DHOs. Now we have heard from RDC, who monitors government programs. Let me bring in Madam Lilian Nakamate, Chief Administrative Officer, Luka, who supervises DHOs. No, this here, she's the one, Lilian? Yes, yeah.
I'm the one. Lilian Nakamate, Accounting Officer, Luka. In Luka, we are developing a mechanism of monitoring and supervising healthy units with the assistance of monitoring tool. We have tasked the DHO to give us areas which the monitors are going to look at. And when we monitor, we shall be leaving critical issues which have to be improved. The same applies to contractors, because every contractor has to have two books for the technical and for the general supervisors. So here, we think that it will improve if you supervise closely, it means the performance will keep on improving. Then we shall be moving away from the naming of Luca. Luca was like this, Luca was like this. Generally speaking, the national cake in Uganda, local governments share 15%. And if you look at 15% shared within the 100 and plus districts, it is really little money. But this is leaving a decision space limited to all of us. We do a lot of work, but we need more support. I think there is a voice here which can reach Parliament, Ministry of Health, to look into this. I'm on the supply side. The capacity, maybe we need also to have a funding to refresh the healthy workers, because like Dr. Agnes mentioned, if we attach a person right from an institution, a learning institution, to lead a healthy unit without management skills, they will hustle here and there, and then they mismanage it somehow. So also that one, we should look into that. On the demand side, we shall continuously train and empower communities in the sanitation facilities, because if they are the people who are housing, the households who are housing children below 5 years, and they are living in a dirty community, it will be impossible to have children who will reach 5 years in percentages over half or 50%. So it is paramount to us, leaders in local government, to continuously empower communities in this area. But we thank Ministry of Health and the partners for the support they have given my district generally, because for the last 3 months I've been there. There is a lot of effort they have done for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your own information and others. Acode also implements another project, Local Government Scorecard Initiative, in partnership with Uganda Local Government Association. And one of the things that project has been doing is to advocate for increase of funds to local governments. So you have partners. Madam there, then I will come to this side. I know people who have worked with government and also with civil society organization this side. You will hear that voice.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Fiona Abasa. I'm representing Dr. Twine Diana. My first one will be on supervision. That supervision, we do armchair supervision from the districts. I say this because I have been in the districts, I have been in this health facilities, over 60 districts in Uganda in this year alone. You find someone writes staff well behaved, staff doing their duty they are on duty in uniforms, but you have not identified the real issues that are on the ground, and when you identify them, you have not trained on spot training of health workers so that they know where they need to improve. So I think we need to improve. Madam Chief Administrative Officer, while you talk about the DHO, I think we need also to monitor the DHOs to see that actually they are getting the right information from the health centers down on the ground. Number two is...
And I'm giving you 1 more minute because we know what Dr. Diana has been doing, and from what Mr. Bamwine has raised, I give you an extra minute.
Thank you. I will also touch on Bamwine's issue. The other thing is data quality. That where civil society comes in, and I think for the district and the health sector in general, is data quality. While we have data, the quality has not been to the standard that we want it to be. I think we need more training. I think health workers need more support in terms of, and that's where we come in. In terms of community engagement, when it comes to preventive diseases, if we could do more training, we do our own barazas on our own, but I think it would be good if we come together as government and civil society and maybe hold a bigger baraza. Mr. Bamwine, your complaint came to our office, and unfortunately for it was that post-mortem was not done. And I think that comes back to community dialoguing, so that people know if someone dies in a hospital because of lack of care, we need to do post-mortem. You cannot sustain a criminal case in court if post-mortem was not done and someone is buried. You know our cultures, it becomes difficult to unbury the person and do post-mortem. But we are taking it up to go as a civil matter. So I am very sorry that it took long to reach us, but we are working on it. Thank you so much.
Here from this side, my brothers Hashaka, but I will begin with
Thank you very much, the chair. I'm Henry Mwewazi from ABCR Africa. Thank you very much, UNICEF and Acode, especially for trying to link up demand and supply side. But I was interested in capacity building done at the lower health units, especially in terms of supply chain management, to see that these health workers can place rightful orders and monitor their stores to ensure that drugs don't get stock out. To see that is a sort of like a sustainable, direction. Thank you.
Mr. Hashaka, first. Are you still in Karamoja?
Yes, please.
Okay.
May I request that you stand up because the cameras can't get you. If you make a contribution, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Number one, it is disappointing that the Minister of Health is not here, because they should have also been around because they're a big stakeholder. Number two, 3 months ago I carried 2 dead bodies on my car, one of an old woman and another one of a 1-week-old baby. I discovered that this baby had died of tetanus because of the negligence of the health workers in one of the health centers. Because I got so concerned, as you know, Abim Hospital has now been renovated fully, and we've been given another 400 million shillings by the government. So there is a problem of negligence by the health workers. You find over 50% of the health workers are not doing their work. The old woman, the problem was lack of sensitization. They had taken her to church, and by the time she almost had like 5 minutes to die is when they brought her to the hospital. So it is important that we continue with the sensitization. Then we also need to integrate some of the traditional practices. Like in Karamoja, women deliver while squatting. So when they come and you make them do it the usual Western way of doing it, they run away and go away. So there is also need to do that to make sure they are allowed to do the squatting, because when our health workers go to the hospitals, they are told that a woman delivers while lying. So when the women want to deliver while squatting, you find they are not allowed, and they again run away. Then you find they are not supposed to use traditionally. They believe that if you use a toilet as a woman who is pregnant, you will not be able to deliver. So we need to again sensitize them about some of these things. Then you find some small things chasing away the women for antenatal. Small things. Not shaving their private parts. You find they are being harassed because of that, and they run away to the traditional birth attendants. Then lastly is the issue of our partners, the non-government organizations. They are really overspending a lot of billions of shillings on things that don't matter. They come with powerful vehicles. I look at some of, because I normally get the releases they give to the districts. You find like 500 million shillings spent on trivial things, allowances, fuel. So I think they need to realign and also involve the district leaders and work together in order for us to reduce the child mortality. And the other thing that didn't come out well, what is the actual figure? Is it 50 to 1,000 or 55 to 1,000? So we need to get a clear one about that. And also, we need to be told, how was it before when it became 50 or 55 to 1,000?
Thank you very much. I'm going to request Dr. Vinomudisha to say something about the Minister of Health. But me as chair, I see Minister of Health here. And let's see if your conceptualization of Minister of Health is the staff at the headquarters. But me, I see Minister of Health here. Dr. Vinomudisha say something about that.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And I want to agree with Professor Mshemeza that Minister of Health is here. But let me put in apologies for the Minister, Honorable Jenna Cheng, and the Commission and the Director of Medical Services, Dr. Mbonye. There is an outbreak of hepatitis B in Teso sub-region and Lango sub-region. So the minister and the ministers of state of health, they have all run. And you know, we have actually a high record in this country of responding to emergencies. Uganda rates high, so they have all gone to those districts, except that that is what they told us, because we invited them, and I spoke to the minister, and we were supposed to have Dr. Kagwa here, Paul. Dr. Kagwa was supposed to be here, but his vehicle broke down. He's right now in Fort Portal. He was in Bundubujo, and on his way the vehicle broke down. So we have them here in the spirit, but also we have these the DHOs, we have the CAOs, we have UNICEF, and we have Ugandans. Anyway, health is about us. Thank you very much.
Really, because Ministry of Health runs right from the headquarters up to the village where we have village health teams. Let me listen from Madam, and then I'll go to the DH of Vuma to bring a very interesting intervention.
Thank you so much. I'm called Annette. I'm coming from Bokoma Simbi District. I want to thank Acode for conducting community dialogues in the community. I want to give a testimony. People didn't know which service is got from where. They are going to a center 2 for delivery. And if they don't get that service, someone calls the RDC that, you know, these health workers are not working on me. So with community dialogues, they know at center 2, you go for this. Center 3, there is this center 4. And my appeal is training the VHTs. They are doing a lot of work, even outside health. They are doing a lot of work even in other areas. If they can give best trainings in different areas, they can really do a lot. Thank you so much.
Vuma, let me hear from Vuma. Where is he? 2 minutes, then Masaka.
Thank you so much, Chair. In Uganda, we are good at managing epidemics, but we should find a way of preventing these epidemics before they happen. In Buvuma, basically, accessibility is the main issue. A situation where you have 52 islands and you have 11 health facilities located on 7 islands. So, where do these other communities access health care? That's the biggest challenge. But on the other side of the coin, I really appreciate Acode what they have done in community empowerment. Because when I sit in a clinic, I love a patient who comes to me and ask me, but doctor, I have a fever, you are giving me medication, but you have not tested my blood. That's the way we should empower the community, basically to demand from the supply side. And I appreciate that so much. Then I appreciate the ministry, our development partners, to help and form outreaches or aid posts where it is so hard to reach. Because I'm talking in the perspective of Vuma. I have worked in Karamoja, I have been in the West, by the issue in Buvuma. This is here in Karamoja region, but I was in Kabongo Hospital. In Kabongo Hospital, and when you go to those manyatas at the hill, we need to provide them special attention. The same should come to Buvuma, where islands are separated by water and there are no air facilities. And the cost of using a boat is so higher than using my vehicle on the road here. So those are the bottlenecks really which need to be addressed. Thank you so much.
It is true, an empowered citizen can even advise a doctor on the type of medicine. A citizen will tell you, this medicine you are giving me will cause me problems. The one that helps me is the other one. I have witnessed that from Masaka, DHO. How have citizens advised you as a doctor, those who are empowered?
Thank you very much, Professor. Delegates, honorables, ladies and gentlemen from districts. Masaka has really benefited a lot from the CODES project. This is an approach which needs to be scaled up to other districts, I would recommend. Because before CODES came in, we as districts, at district level, we could not analyze data ourselves. We used to refer everything to the ministry, that these are the recommendation, ministry take it up, ministry take it up. But right now we can analyze data ourselves and we come up with interventions that we can ably address. So this is a very good approach anyway. As Masaka, we've come up with initiatives. We've initiated programs like for ANC to promote IPT2. We came up with an appointment book for ANC, and this book was given to all midwives. These midwives capture all the contacts of the mothers who come for antenatal, during antenatal, and they always retrieve data to see who is to come tomorrow, in case this is the clinic tomorrow, antenatal clinic. So these mothers are now in touch with the midwives. Once you get in touch with the midwives and the mothers, they all respond positively and they deliver from our facilities. The IPT2 has really gone high and it's now at 62. So this has been from the initiative of communicating, strengthening the communication with our mothers. For malaria, for the disease burden, really malaria has moved. It used to be number one. It used to be ranked number one among the disease burden in Masaka, but it's now number 3. This has been from the empowerment of the communities and the service, the improved services at his facility. The 3 other diseases like diarrhea, pneumonia, those ones are now among the last diseases, in the disease burden. They are among the last diseases.
You have said IPT. What is IPT?
IPT is intermittent presumptive treatment. This is the treatment we give to pregnant mothers when they come for antenatal, and it's to prevent malaria. We give them Fancida, and they have to get 2 doses of Fancida. It was a very big challenge. Mothers could just come for 1 dose and they don't return for the 2nd dose. But they have now improved because the midwives keep reminding, please come back, we are waiting for you, come back, come back. So the mothers have responded positively. Those are the major ones. And at community level, the communities is now very well empowered. They know their rights, they know their responsibilities, they know that once you are given a dose to a child, you have to complete the 3 days they are given. So they are now very much well empowered. They respond to the treatment, and they can really air out what is not proper, what they are not satisfied with. They send their SMS on your report. They are very good at reporting. So the health workers now know that we have now monitors at community level.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, God.
Mr. Simwe, you have been an RDC, you are Pan-Africanist. We hear complaints that the health service has broken, but we are hearing good testimonies. What is your response?
On that road. So it is the usual excuses. But what I wanted to ask, because if there is a staff of Ministry of Health, by the time they ask where the Ministry of Health, they must respond. So in other words, they are just the usual excuses. There's no breakdown. I want to put it on record from Kabarere to Kampala. I am from there this morning. So that one should go, and a breakdown maybe took place in Guru or Kabare. Second, what I wanted to ask Chairperson is the connection between the expiry of drugs and lack of drugs. If somebody can answer that, because there is a lot of expired drugs, and then people are saying there is no what? There are no drugs. So what is the connection?
Thank you. Before we lose our live, I wanted to give 1 minute to Professor Ndebesa, then I return to the Master of Ceremony and see how we move forward.
Yeah, since the professor is waiting for the microphone, my second question was, the doctors here, have you seen the impact of witch doctors and the Bafere pastors? Actually, they have impacted a lot on the service delivery.
Professor Ndebesa, 1 minute, then before we lose our live coverage.
Thank you. Before we lose our coverage, I want to underscore the role and the power of dialogues, which actually all these stakeholders are doing, because this was going to be in response to Bamwine, but it seems he's not around, of using force or sanctions. In history, the colonial regime here actually was very good at implementing public health policies by forcing people, for example, to construct pit latrines, and if you didn't have it, you would be arrested. But the demand was that you construct a pit latrine and keep it clean. But because there was no dialogue and understanding, people would keep the latrine clean by not going there. That means you need dialogue. Number two, Bamwine was talking about sanctions about these health workers and whatever, and the problem of absenteeism. That one also needs dialogue, because from problem of absenteeism, we are going to have a problem of presenteeism. Presenteeism is where they will be in office, but be on WhatsApp. They will be present, so they will not be punished. But because they are not motivated, they are not convinced of what they are doing, there is no legitimacy of the state, there is no legitimacy of the regime, the health services will not be provided. There will be a problem of presenteeism. From absenteeism to presenteeism. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's appreciate one another with a warm hand clap for the powerful responses we've had. And just reminding our TV audience that we are live here on NTV at Hotel Protea here in Kampala on a beautiful, really, really beautiful morning. After a very, very rainy day yesterday, we're having a beautiful weather here in Kampala. Great time to be alive and great time to be discussing an important subject, confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of gains from the CODES project. And this is a project that has been handled by Ministry of Health, UNICEF, Acode, Makerere School of Public Health, as well as Child Fund International. We have on board here MPs, we have district leaders, members of STON, development partners, and national level NGOs working in the domain of health. And my name is Gawaya Tegule, taking you through this beautiful discussion. Some responses here from Twitter. I have, this is from Fatherless Foundation Uganda. They are saying we need to work on attitudes of both communities and health workers. And then I have one here from Kisache Julie. She's saying that apart from demanding services, how else have community members been equipped to handle health issues at household level? I think, Mr. Chairman, a question that the panel ought to respond to. This is a legitimate question. Apart from demanding services, how else have community members been equipped to handle health issues at household level? Then I have PM Live Radio. They're asking, as a country, is Uganda doing enough that is in the domain of child mortality? I think that's that's a good question in these days of scorecards and ratings and awarding of marks. I think the panel should be telling us tonight, on a scale of 1 to 10, how have we performed as a country? I think I would like to hear that from the panel. Dr. Flavia is nodding furiously, so I expect she'll be responding to that. I have also Women's 256, a question here. Good policies have been raised over time. Surely, isn't implementation the problem? The panel should also respond to that one, I believe. Let me go to David Muanguzi. He's saying that child mortality, just a comment, is a residue of alarming conditions that affected parents are living in. Then I'll go to Chief Malinga. Malinga is saying, I prefer to look at this from when a mother is giving birth. And he's saying, is the healthcare system competent for child survival right from when the mother is giving birth? Because if women are dying while giving birth, why are we even bothering to look at the concept of the question of child survival? I mean, let's climb this tree beginning from the bottom. That's a question. Then I have also one that came in from, this is, I think, Jane Lucy Kakande. She was saying that she was hearing what I said about Mulago and said she also lost a child at Mulago, so she also understands the concept of child mortality. It's one thing when you're talking about child mortality from statistics. It's another thing when you've been through it and so you feel it. You know what it means to be more than just statistical data. It is actually a real life situation, and that is why you want to think that even when they tell us there are less children dying, the question still remains that, the issue still is that there are still children dying, and if you're one of those losing them, then you want to be more concerned. You will not be impressed by the statistics. You're saying, I want this to be eradicated completely. So we're having a great time here, and we're going back to the panel that is chaired by the good Professor Elijah Mushemeza. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Before I start with the panel, in the spirit of gender equality and women's empowerment, there is a hand which was persistent there, and I give you 1 minute.
I'll run that.
Thank you very much. I'm Mwana Moiza, RDC Ujiri. I would love to thank Acode for the same, because in the presentations I didn't see much on the lamentations of resources, because we are always lamenting about more resources, more resources. The question is, how best can we do in the retro resources that we have? I would also love to say that the dialogues, according to the structures, according to Acode, sometimes some programs end somewhere, but for them they go right down. For example, in Bugiri, like my friend said about the cultures, the men believe that when they go to the toilet, the latrines, they lose their manhood. So in one of my sub-counties that believe that we had to go down and dialogue on the same, and I think the attitude is changing. But remember that mindset is a process. And like we said, we must integrate this within all the aspects so that we can move on. Lastly, I'm excited about the involvement of males, the men. They enjoy the game. When it is time for that, they leave the women in isolation, including those ones who are here. You are all welcome on the bandwagon, and we fight the war. Thank you.
Would have lost that if we had not picked her. Mr. Moses, 1 minute, 1 minute. We have 10 minutes to wind up, and I would like also the executive director to give closing remarks. So 1 minute, Moses, sister, and then Dr. Faravi, you'll have 2 minutes, more than others.
Thank you, Chair Prof. I will just respond to a few of the raised comments. One, it's unfortunate that RDC Bamwine has gone, but I need to echo that, according to us, community dialogues are indeed very important, and it has spoken for itself. Two, the issue of religious cults. How are we handling them? In fact, one of our target areas for our community dialogues was such areas. And we have met them. We have neutralized those religious beliefs that have, for example, discouraged immunization. The case in point is in Bujiri and Luka, the 6666. We have neutralized it, and we are very happy that the communities are responding well, and they have really improved their attitudinal change towards immunization.
Thank you very much. We
Thank
can
you.
now go to my sister here, Dr. Agnes.
Thank you very much. I would still use this opportunity to re-echo. Empowering leadership at the points of service delivery should be the way to go. Health facility in charges, sub-counties, the districts, they need to be empowered to be able to fight their role. I acknowledge there are gaps in the health sector, but we can narrow this gap if we can have these people empowered. I had a chance to visit a sub-county, and I looked in the sub-county visitors book. You will never find a health facility in charge who goes there. I also went to a health facility book and looked for at least one sub-county person who visits this facility. And you don't find the names there. Now, if leaders cannot speak at that level, how is it possible that solutions will trickle to whatever level to have them solved?
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Just one, maybe itchy one. It's capacity building. Someone is raising issues of capacity building, and whenever we talk about capacity building, all we are thinking about is training, training, training. Now, the trainings in the health sector have faced a challenge. One, these trainings and workshops today in Uganda are actually a source of income. They've been highly politicized in districts, and on many occasions, the target person, if it's a training for midwives, you'll be surprised that the people attending those trainings are actually not midwives. And this is something I think the leaders can come in to help, so that opportunities like that, funding from UNICEF, are not lost to cause. We've had trainings for doctors where you find a records assistant attending. I was delegated to. Like, there is something that we have lost along the way, and I believe the leaders in this room today can help us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and that's why NADS was restructured.
Thank you so much. How has Uganda done? Uganda has done actually quite well for child health. Uganda reduced under 5 from 187 per 1,000 in 1990 to 55. And I think we should give credit where it is due. Kenya didn't achieve MDG4, for instance, so you can't compare. But Uganda has actually not done well for mothers and newborns. That remains a big problem. We need to do better. We are still losing a lot more mothers. Now, should we punish health workers or not? Now, I'm speaking from a career, and I teach health policy planning and management. I think it is core responsibility, the responsibility of the state. How do we punish the state when it does not do its role? Should we just focus on the health workers? If they don't have things to use, what can they do? If they are just 50% of the staffing levels, then my last point, we must release resources from the center, from Kampala to the districts. As I said, Ethiopia has done this. They have a so-called 70 to 30% rule, whereby 70% of money of any project must go into programming, and only 30% goes into management, vehicles, and staff. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. And another good news, Acode has a project on public expenditure governance. It follows up and sees how money is being used and empowers citizens to demand for accountability. Dr. Flavia.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the interactive session. I want to go back to a good old saying by a former Director General of Health Services, that health is made at home and only repaired in health facilities when it breaks down. Please, it is our responsibility to make that health at home by making the right choices. Empower the communities, community dialogue. There is no doubt about it that it's very powerful, and I wonder, we need to take this project to Butambala. We think that Uganda has done enough, but nearly can improve its performance with child mortality, reducing child mortality. We shouldn't have any death unless it is absolutely out of our control. Any death is very painful, and anyone who's lost a child will testify to that. So, malaria has reduced 42% prevalence to 19% presently, although there is an epidemic. Immunization coverage is quite high. Tetanus is very rare. I was surprised to hear that. Malnutrition needs to be tackled. We still have a lot of stunting. 30% of Ugandans are stunted in their heads. I mean, if you do not address malnutrition, we will not become astronauts. We won't go to the moon. We will not deliver 2040. We must address malnutrition. HIV, water and sanitation are other things that we need to work with. The last point is concerning performance-based financing that will probably be a game changer. The World Bank has come in, and very soon, starting next year, we should be seeing performance-based financing. What do I mean? Health workers will be rewarded for performance. It won't be business as usual. It won't be receiving a salary at the end of the month just like that. We should be able to see their performance improve in the long run if they are paid according to outputs. So please, support every effort from the Ministry of Health. It's unfortunate they were not here, but they are with us all the way, especially Professor Mbonye and the Planning Department. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me recognize in our midst the presence of DHO Masindi, Mr. John Tugagaruka, Arua DHO, Dr. Patrick Anguzu, Apache District Health Educator, Mr. Geoffrey Onyik, and one of our consistent supporters, the RDC of Hweju, Mr. Ime Katera Shigawajenyi. I request you to give a hand clap, a very strong one, to the panelists for responding to the issues very effectively. On this note, let me take the opportunity of handing over back to the Master of Ceremony and possibly invite our Executive Director to give his closing remarks. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Exactly that, as we reach the beginning of the very end of what has been a wonderful symposium, confronting the challenge of child mortality in Uganda, scale up and consolidation of gains from the CODES project here at Hotel Protea in Kampala, the 67th State of the Nation platform. Closing remarks from Executive Director of Acode, Dr. Arthur Bainomujisha.
A round of applause to our moderator. A round of applause to our panelists and experts on health. We have a future as a nation, as demonstrated by this expert knowledge that is resident here, but also resident on you. Another round of applause to our dear audience here that has been very participatory. And that one that has actually participating through Twitter, Facebook. We are live streamed. We want also to thank you. You can give them a round of applause. I think we are now in the 21st century. You can see that we are here, but we have the whole country. We have 35 million Ugandans able to watch if they decided to watch and participate in this. And I think I'm happy that we are becoming 21st century compliant. I want to thank UNICEF. I want to thank Makerere University, the School of Public Health. I want to thank Child Fund. I want to thank the CODES team at Acode for a job well done. And I want to re-echo what Moses talked about, that every Ugandan child deserves to celebrate her 5th birthday. And I think if we achieve that one, then as a country would be ready to march forward. But ladies and gentlemen, you know this is a century for Africa. The 21st century is a century for Africa. I just returned from the States and I realized how it is going down. For some of you who have been there, realize that actually it is time. I think the West is moving and Africa must be ready to take on the mantle. The resources are coming here, whether we like it or not. So we must prepare ourselves to help the rest of the world. The time has come for us to start giving the rest of the world. So children are a gift from God. Children are a gift from God. We must protect our children. Africa has the youngest population on the continent, on earth. And that population is a resource to us if we are able to nurture them, skill them, and use them to produce wealth for ourselves and for the rest of the world. So the timeliness of this project is very, very superb. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your participation. This project comes to an end in December, but it's also a beginning of other projects, because I have been talking to Dr. Flavia Mpanga here. We cannot create this critical mass and just abandon the districts and especially the impact that has been created. So an exit strategy is being formulated so that we can continue, because it would be very, very dangerous to achieve this and just disappear, because then that will be the same narrative why Africa fails. This is not part of Africa failure, it is part of the African success story. Africa is rising. So ladies and gentlemen, without taking much of your time, thank you for participating in the 67th session of the Stone. I will have another Stone next year. You know, this is our last Stone this year. Normally we don't have Stone in December. But I want to thank the members of Stone, the current members. We have been here for the last 6 years and still growing stronger. We'll continue to organize your Stones, and of course we'll organize a review in January, so that we can see, you can give us more insights on how we can make Stone even more impactful and insightful. And with those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you and bring this to a close. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arthur. And I was wondering whether, this being the last Stone platform, is it possible that if we had delegations writing petitions that we have another Stone next month, would Acode kindly or reluctantly consider, due to public demand, that there be another Stone in December? That is how politics is done around these parts. Now we have publications available. As you go out, please make sure you pick some. And there is presenting a summary of issues, findings, and codes. It is there. If you go to the registration table, you will be able to get one. May I say thank you very much for being a wonderful audience. And from all of us here at Protea Hotel and the team in the studio, is have a good day. God bless you. And bye-bye for the Stone members. See you again next year. If you're live on TV, please do not change your dial. NTV still continues. Back to studio. Be blessed and bye-bye.
NTV, turning on your world.
Raise the praise.
You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are.
Get inspiration. Rise up every morning with a song of praise to the Lord. A day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. Soul Moment, every Monday to Friday at 6 a.m.